The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the expresser, and do not necessarily represent those of the owner, management, or anyone else. This program is meant for mature listeners, and some of the language and topics may not be suitable for younger or sensitive individuals. If you are easily offended, or have a delicate constitution, you may want to turn the program off now. The program uses facts, fiction, sarcasm, and parody, and any references to specific individuals that may or may not have done something, is based on something found on the internet. Use discretion when listening, and always feel free to double-check our information if you want.
And welcome to Let's Talk It All, Planet Paranormal.
Ooh, Planet Paranormal.
Yes, Jeff's on where some of these changes had to be made. We've made some modifications after our 100th episode to more tune what we want to talk about to the program that we're doing.
Awesome.
So Planet Paranormal will focus on the paranormal.
I'm finding out as you are too right now.
Yes. That's how a partnership should work.
Exactly.
Just like a fucking marriage.
That's right. Shut your mouth and just like take marriage. It, baby.
So
you know who's the top in this one, don't you?
Yeah. I'm wearing the pants tonight. And I got my
Sasquatch that is
shirt on, baby.
Beautiful shirt.
It is.
I like it a lot.
My Planet Paranormal shirt.
I like it a lot.
So Planet Paranormal, we'll talk about cryptids and UFOs and hauntings and ghosts and things like that. We will talk about tinfoil hat stuff.
Yes.
We will talk about probably old political stuff, JFK, old stuff like that. New political stuff, we're going to kind of push off to something else that will put a secondary layer between members of this cast and other things. Yes. But anyways,
there's one thing we should touch on briefly before we jump into the show.
Okay.
And that is Tucker Carlson's new show on Twitter has just annihilated mainstream media.
And I believe there's a cease and desist order.
Yeah. He had, I think, within a 48-hour period, over 125 million views, something like that. Something insane.
1.4 million total.
But replayed 125 million times. 125 million times. Yeah. You could take CNN, Fox, MSNBC, and combine their ratings for a year, and they don't hit that kind of number. That is the power of what Tucker has nailed.
I think they said the best rating you ever got on Fox was 100,000.
Right.
Whatever Nelson.
Yeah.
Whatever they do it with.
Right.
So and again the
interesting. I don't know if you watched it or not.
I didn't.
But it could have been our show, and the reason I say that because he touched on fake news. He touched on Ukraine and the Nazi influence. Yeah. He touched on us blowing up the pipeline. He touched on aliens invading our airspace. And the New York Times, having 5 articles about Ukraine on that day and not a single article about our airspace being invaded. I mean, he nailed it. He absolutely annihilated the fake news media. And now they're coming after him.
Of course, they copied.
They got their fangs out, and they did copy their format, but they got their fangs out. They're coming for him. So, interesting.
So, current political stuff will be found on a broadcast on the Let's Talk It All network.
Yes,
network, because now we're a network because we got multiple broadcasters. Fortnite report in. One of those just came out the other day, and it was focused on the attacks against the LGB part of the alphabet community by the other letters in the alphabet.
Gotcha.
Very, very brief. It was about 25 minutes long. Mm-hmm. Just make the podcast more listenable.
Yeah, in relation to that, not the same community, but another community, I did see something on Facebook the other day, and it might have been on YouTube too, about a dolphin who was identified. Apparently, this dolphin learned sign language with flippers, and it identified as a human male or a human female. I think it was a human female locked in a dolphin body. So anyway, long story short, this dolphin, through sign language, felt that it was its right to compete against human female swimmers.
Oh, absolutely.
And apparently, no one can get a point across to the dolphin that it is a dolphin. It's a mammal like us, but it is a dolphin. So anyway, interesting story developing there with dolphins and sign language and wanting to become human females.
To compete against human females.
Yes. Yep.
Whether it's a male or female dolphin doesn't matter.
Right. Well, they're
species fluid.
Yeah, species fluid.
Species fluid,
yeah.
Which is important.
Yes.
When you're talking about that. So, anyways,
yeah.
So we're just doing some things differently. We're gonna try to stick to paranormal stuff as much as possible. If we get into a little bit, we'll get into a little bit, but it won't be like it was the first 100 episodes or 7 years, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
good times.
It was. It is. It still is. It still is. Because you and I don't. We got a lot going on.
Yes, we do.
You got a lot going on. 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 I'm looking at a fucking used new auto part store.
I know. I could be
in the basement.
I literally could be a classic Camaro parts store at this
point. He could. Unto himself. So when we first talked about this, or at least part of this, Jeff had said something about wanting to do Yeti and Yowie.
Yes, Yowie was.
And that was a couple weeks ago, but then something popped up late last week.
Yes.
And you sent me a message about it, and I mistakenly, you said Majestic 12.
Right.
Or MJ 12, whatever you said. Right. And I thought I had seen what you said you saw, but I don't think it was it. I think what I saw was there was something, I don't know if it was new or not, but it was something that I saw for the first time about the MK Ultra project.
Gotcha. That's something.
And that because they couldn't convince doctors in the United States to go along with this crazy project,
right?
They moved on up to Canada, where they bamboozled and shamboozled the Canadians into letting them run their shit up there.
Yeah. Right.
So it was MK Ultra that side. I didn't say the Majestic 12, but we'll go over that thing. We'll talk about it. I looked up a little bit of it. I think it's got some interesting implications with things that are going on today, especially with what possibly landed in Vegas 2 nights ago.
Yes. I'm just saying. It's all here. I'm just saying. I wrote a book.
Jeff will probably take the lead on this. So before we get into it,
right.
Last couple of weeks have been interesting. Last weekend, how it was last weekend or whatever. Alana, I did a psychic fair.
Yes, you
locally.
Did. Yeah.
Turned out to be really. I was shocked. It was a really good time. Really good turnout. All things considered, there was a Greek fest going on at one end of Vestal. There were Front Street Days going on at the other end of Vestal, and we still drew enough people that Alana and I wound up whacking out 10, 12 readings apiece.
Yep.
Plus, there were other readers that were busy as well.
Oh, they were all busy.
Plus, there was stuff going on in the next building over that I guess they were busy too. I don't know how busy they were. They were
very busy.
There were vendors and touchy-feely things going on over there. Yeah. So it was only busy about 2, and then it died, which is fine because we crammed all that business in the 3 hours, 4 hours that we were there.
Right.
And then we just kind of hung out the last 2 hours and chatted.
No, I was.
You were there. You were there. Some of your coworkers, some of your family, some of your friends.
Yep.
It was like a little family reunion. Julia was there.
Yep.
And there's someone else was there for. Oh, there was someone else that I knew that came there specifically, and they brought 4 or 5 friends.
Yep.
So it was probably an easy 12.5 people that were just groupies of myself and Alani.
You know, Heather brought 5 people with her.
Yeah, I saw that.
5 people.
I saw that.
So they had their own little troop there. And
so 2 weeks prior to that, or 3 weeks prior to that, whatever it was, Alani and I were up in, well, we weren't really technically in Rochester. We were in a place called Caledonia.
Mm-hmm.
At first I thought that was made up because I think there was some place made up called Caledonia, but Maybe I'm thinking of something.
It's probably a Star Wars universe, but go ahead.
Princess Bride or something. Anyways, so we were there it was kind of a Parafest shindig. It was a good time. I got to introduce a couple of my new books out and meet some people. There were a lot of people there to meet. And a lot of Bigfoot people and
oh gosh,
celebrities. I don't know, celebrities or
no, I know where
dignitaries or whatever they're called.
Yep.
So from that, I'll start with the good stuff first. I'll get to there.
Sure.
So this is for you.
Oh, I got something there.
We got presents.
Oh,
so that is a
Bigfoot. Look at that.
And it's a hot cold thermos.
Well, thank you.
Depending on the lid you put on it. I think that is the hot lid, maybe.
Wow.
There's another lid in there.
Another lid in there. Yep. Look at it.
There's another lid.
Yeah.
There is another lid in there.
Another lid in there.
They're in there.
Wow.
It's clear.
It's clear.
And I think that is for the cold, maybe.
Oh, really?
I know.
Yeah, this is really.
There
cool.
might be instructions inside.
Hopefully there is. But
and I got a Second Amendment one for me.
Ah, very nice. Well, thank you.
So I got that.
There's very kind of you. So again, gifts are always good.
And then,
nice.
And then,
I don't lose anything here.
Not that you are much for doing this. I don't think you are, but you might be. I got you some tattoos for your car.
Oh gosh.
For the Hummer or wherever.
Look at that. Yeah, look at those. Huh? Oh, we got another one here. Look.
Little Sasquatch with a heartbeat.
Thank you, sir.
That one I got on my car.
For sirs. Oh yeah, that one's going on the hammer. Yeah. Now, do these go on the outside?
They go on the outside. So,
all right. I screwed one of these up once before.
So you want to peel the back.
Right, peel the back, right.
Place it, put it on the way you want it, press it on there. And then this front sheet, you eventually peel back off of it.
Gotcha.
So press it on, get it on there.
But is it press on like I take it out and press on like this? Or I turn it around and press it on like that?
Yeah, press it on like that.
Okay.
And there's adhesive on this side.
Right.
And then once you do,
you peel off the other layer.
This peels off and it just leaves the white vinyl on there.
Cool.
Just peeled off real slow.
Well, thank you.
I put that one and that one on my card and it worked out well.
That's awesome.
So these are nice. And they put this extra front piece on just to keep things in place for you.
I actually make
placement.
As you're aware, I am painting a certain Super Camaro white right now. And this with that one of these would look really good, I think, on the back window.
Yeah.
I may do that. Okay. So thank you.
So
much appreciated, sir.
Oh God, dignitaries. Dignitaries over there.
Dude, seriously, are you kidding me?
The dignitaries over there. There was that's got wet rain, but it's covered in glass. Steve Coles.
Yeah, it's Coles.
Coles.
Whatever, yeah. He's been on Monster Quest and all sorts of shit.
This was I felt this was a very if I was a Sasquatch, I would hide from this guy. I would not come out with this guy. But he is the Sasquatch detective.
Yeah, that's what he is. He's a former police officer.
We got this, and this is to the podcast.
Oh well, thank you, Steve.
To the podcast. Steve wrote one out to the podcast.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. And he said, give him a call sometime. Jump right on and talk with us about what we want to talk about.
All right. Well,
and I thought that was a great thing for me to do. So I got Steve to sign one to my buddy Jeff directly. Jeff, and this is Jeff's own personal autographed combat Sasquatch detective photo.
Thank you.
And I knew you would like those.
Well, one's for you.
No, that's both here. We got stuff from here.
Well, here we go.
We got one to the show.
Thank you, Steve.
I haven't signed my book. I got one of his books.
And you got one of his books.
I got one of his books.
Steve made out good
to help me.
Yeah.
Better find Sasquatch in the field.
So okay, I've never met. That I can recall, I've never met Steve in person. Okay. So, I'm just going off I tried to contact, if you're listening, I did try to contact you a few times about a particular area in the Adirondack Mountains. Actually, I took a team up with me. I took a former Broome County sheriff, a current Broome County sheriff, and I also took a private detective and Heather as well on a Bigfoot expedition to this particular area. And I told, I wrote an email, a couple of emails to Steve, letting him, hey, we're going up here on this date. I knew he knew the area of where to look. And this is, again, he's following the typical protocol of the Bigfoot community. So I'm not mad at him. I understand what his thought process is. He doesn't know who I am. But there's a lot of non-sharing information with it, extremely non-sharing to the point of paranoia, I think, on a lot of researchers. And I'm not saying he's paranoid. I'm just saying just others out there. And I think part of the problem with that, what that leads to is we're never going to solve this mystery if people don't work together. Again, and I'm not saying he's like that. I'm just saying that the overall persona within the Big Three community is very, hey, I got an area, but I'm not going to talk about what it is, but here's my evidence.
Right.
Which is great. You're getting evidence, but people need to be able to duplicate what you're doing in the same area to really justify what you're doing. Not saying anybody's faking. I'm not saying that at all, but so that was, I was a little miffed. I never got a response from a gentleman. So that is what it is.
So I'm going to say, I think attitudes might be shifting a little bit because it seems to be more, we want to work together type thing sometimes.
Gotcha.
Sometimes.
Right.
I don't know. Because he was there and there was a couple other people there, and I know I'm horrible for not remembering names. The one gentleman is, I think he's very popular down in the Carolinas, maybe. I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Well, do you remember his name?
I don't. If I did,
well, that would be helpful.
It would be easier, but I'll have to look it up. I did buy a cryptic cookbook from him though. Some of his favorite recipes for a variety of cryptids across the country.
Good idea, actually.
It's funny. He's
not a bad idea.
He's working on his next one is an alien cookbook. And how
to best serve man.
Something like that. Something like that. But I think it's how to best serve ET.
Right.
But, so I read through. Okay, there's some funny stuff, and I'll bring you some of the funny recipes, and when in the future we'll go over them. They're cute. It's cute.
Well, I want to say thank you very much for the gifts.
You're welcome.
You're a very giving and wonderful person, and I always wish I could be more like you.
No. More broke than you are now.
Right, I know.
So it was one of these things where, it's one of those things where a lot of times it's vendors supporting vendors,
right?
Because it doesn't have a lot of foot traffic for whatever reason,
right?
So a lot of that week in Caledonia was vendors supporting vendors.
Mm-hmm.
But the Parafest for itself was for a good cause. One, it was a veterans outreach program that they support, and part of the proceeds went to that. And then they were doing a separate drive for a woman that they knew that had just passed with, I believe, I want to say cancer, maybe cancer, but she was one of these contestants on Naked and Afraid reality things, and she was from the area.
Oh, wow.
And she was a big to do with the paranormal teams up there and things like that. So it was fundraising. It was a good time. It was for a good reason, good cause. So yeah, so it was a chance to support some of the vendors. So I got, if I'm going to support them, I'm going to get stuff I can use, not just stuff I get to collect.
I got thinking, these Paracons and different things that go on, I think they get much more foot traffic if they combine it with something. And I had a thought about this, and just using this group as an example, because they get a lot of free press. Normally you have to pay for hey, we're going to have an event on this day.
Right.
But the news media right now bend over backwards for certain groups. So if you could tie it into the LGBT community, I have a Rainbow Coalition Paracon combination thing, I really think you'd get all the free press you want. The foot traffic would be unbelievable. I mean, it's a popular thing right now. I mean, this seems like it'd be just something to toss around.
Oddly enough, gentleman that was running this Parafest is part of the LGBT community.
Well, then you should throw this idea.
But I think he likes to be just part of that community. LGBT.
Oh,
the other letters of the alphabet. I don't think he's one of the ones that buys into what they're selling.
Oh, I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
What I did, you might want to float the idea, because it's really, if he wants it, I'm just saying it's not a bad idea to combine the two. I'm not kidding. I'm actually
not kidding.
And it's just certain things out there right now. There's certain I don't want to say groups. That's not really a great way to word it. Segments of the population, however you want to word it, they have different things going on that are very, very popular, and it just seems like it'd be a good tie-in to try and make the
not just turning political,
right?
if it would mean having to get the whole alphabet involved, I would almost rather run a Joe Biden fundraiser in connection with my paranormal con than support some of the nonsense that's going on with the tail end of that community. I'm just saying.
I understand.
I'm just saying.
Just tossing out ideas.
Trying
to be helpful.
I don't want to Bud Light the moment, if you know what I mean. So I had a good time. And again, we got a couple other things coming up. We got August is a sci-fi horror fest up in Vernon, New York.
Yep.
At the casino, which is nice. That looks like it's going to be a good time. Not necessarily a paranormal crowd, but we go up anyways. Alani's middle son is very much into the horror, and Alani likes it too. And he went last year with us to help us, and he had a great time. He had such a good time that he actually offered to sponsor the trip for us. So he's paying for to get in the rooms, and so Steven had a good time. So,
do you remember you, not me, I helped in the tiny minuscule way, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name, but he was at the house. He was here. We did that the film fest tied in with the parrot many years ago. Yeah. And do you remember the one that he was here? I set up the trains. I had a remote control on my phone. I could run the trains off my phone. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we were doing the horror show, movie reviews, and the train started running.
God. Who was here with us?
I can't think of the gentleman. He's on my Facebook page. I can't think of his name.
Mark? Was it Mark?
There was two guys. There was two of them.
Was there?
Yeah. But anyway, the one, he's a director or something, or a producer or something. The line he's been in some of his movies. I can't think of his name. So, okay. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, I don't know why to share the story.
So,
okay.
Moving on.
Okay.
So, on to MJ.
Well, actually, it's not really MJ12. Now, I don't know how much you've seen or what you.
Well, see,
if you've been under a rock, I can understand why you've not seen any of this. But, all right, this is all over. I mean, this is everywhere. I mean, even CNN and MSNBC. And anyway, you heard of the gentleman named David Grush, the whistleblower.
Yes.
Okay, so. All right. Now, before we get to David, we have to tie all this together.
Okay.
All right. And in order to do that, we have to go back 76 years, 75 years. We have to go back to Roswell, New Mexico. Now, we're going to tie in Roswell to World War II and the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Okay.
All right. So back in 1947, the year of the famous Roswell disc crash that turned out to be first a weather balloon and then Project Mogul many years later. Roswell was the home of the 509th Atomic Bombing Wing. Okay, now in 1947, there was one atomic bombing wing in the entire world, on the entire planet. And it was in Roswell, New Mexico, and it was the 509th. There was no other atomic bombing wing. Okay. I'm going to say that one more time because that really needs to sink in people's minds. There was one bombing wing, nuclear atomic bombing wing in the world at the time, and it was the 509th.
There was one point on the globe that had capability of dispatching nuclear destruction.
That's right. Okay. And it was the 509th.
One spot.
Out of Roswell, New Mexico.
1 point on the globe.
Okay. So now that we got that out of the way, who was the 509th Atomic Bombing Wing? Well, it was the bombing group that dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The players. Okay, so in 1947, the base commander, his name was Colonel Blanchard. All right. He was originally directed to prepare and supervise the detailed operation for the delivery of the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima. He was the backup pilot for the Hiroshima A-bomb drop, which is ultimately delivered by Colonel Paul Tibbets, at that time the commanding officer of the 509th Atomic Bombing Group. After the war, on January 20th, 1946, Colonel Blanchard became commanding officer of the 509th, succeeding Tibbets. Blanchard and the 509th were immediately ordered to commence operations for Operation Crossroads, which was the atomic test at Bikini Atoll, where they did all the the real high-powered atomic testing after that. With the highest priorities, crews were assembled in March, and the 509th was transferred to the Marshall Islands for the testing, which later took place in July. At the conclusion of the Crossroads test on August 23rd, 1946, then Colonel Blanchard assumed the duties of commanding officer of the Roswell Airfield in New Mexico, later renamed Walker Air Force Base in 1948, which became the permanent home of the 509th Atomic Bombing Wing. Later on in his career, Blanchard became the Vice Chief of Staff of the U.S. Air Force with a promotion to 4-star rank. He worked directly out of the Pentagon, and in 1966, he actually died at the Pentagon. He had a massive heart attack inside the Pentagon and died. Anyway, as you can see, the star of the Army Air Force in July of 1947 was the base commander for Roswell, the only atomic bombing wing in the world. By its very definition, it was the most secure base on the planet at that time. Literally, the most secure base we had. Kind of like Area 51 is today, I'd imagine. The officer that started the recovery of the crashed disc on the ranch of Max Brazel was Major Jesse Marcel, who was the intelligence officer for the 519th Atomic Bombing Wing. Okay, now this guy was the major and the intelligence officer for the most secret atomic bombing wing base in the planet.
On the planet.
Yeah, got that out of
on the planet. This planet.
Then Colonel Blanchard authorized the release to the public of a crashed disc, which was not retracted for days and replaced with the crashed weather balloon story later on. Even then, the fake news media ate the weather balloon story with a spoon. We can only look back today and ask how in the world was the fake news so gullible to believe that the only, capital letters, atomic bombing wing on the planet made of Army Air Force crack personnel had mistaken a crashed weather balloon for a crashed flying saucer. Nobody questioned in the media. Nobody.
I don't know why it's hard to believe in today. Yeah. Because this is what we're doing today with stuff.
Yeah. Of course they didn't. The media bought it, and for over 70 years, they still have not admitted their complete failure in regards to this butchery of the truth. Now we can move on. Okay. Now we established.
All right.
So the Roswell crash happened on July 7th or on about 1947. This leads to this National Security Act, which was proposed in July 26th of 1947. The National Security Act was signed into law by Harry S. Truman on September 18th, 1947, immediately leading to the formation of the National Security Council and the forming of the CIA. The NSA was also formed under this act on November 4th, 1952. This is relevant because it establishes a tie in domestic 12 documents. And later, our current star, that was his name again, David Grush. All right. So in 1980, in the early 1980s, there were copies and documents provided to a paranormal investigator. All right. This paranormal investigator went public with these documents in some freaking UFO show, right? A UFO debunker named Philip Klass, a well-known debunker of UFOs at the time, actually wrote books about, UFOs not being real, whatever. Contacted the FBI with copies of the documents, all right, asking them to investigate due to they were not released through official channels and protocols. After his death, this is Philip Klass, by the way, it was established he worked as a disinformation operative for the U.S. government on the subject UFOs. Shocker, right? So anyway, Majestic 12 in 1988, two FBI offices received similar versions of the memo titled Operation Majestic 12. Claiming to be highly classified government document, the memo appeared to be a briefing for newly elected President Eisenhower on the secret committee created to exploit and recover extraterrestrial aircraft and cover this work up from the public examination. Air Force investigations determined the document to be fake. Now, this is what you'll find on WikiLeaks, whatever the fuck it's called. That is almost 100% false. What had actually happened, I'll read what was else written about this. pursuant to a congressional request, which did happen in, I think it was early 1990s or mid 1990s, was Adam Schmidt. I think his name was Adam Schmidt. He was out of New Mexico, actually. His district housed the now defunctional Roswell Air Force Base. He asked the General Accounting Office, after he went to the Air Force, he went to the National Archives, and he went to NASA, about what happened to Roswell. And no one would admit anything, and they kept bouncing him, go ask this HC. Mm-hmm. He got bounced back and forth. So he went to the investigation arm of the U.S. Congress and Senate, the GAO. And they started knocking on doors, trying to figure out if there was any truth to these documents. Publicly, no one would admit at the Pentagon or the Defense Department or any of the other agencies, CIA, NSA, if there was any truth to the documents. They did say off the record, well, if you find anything, you're not going to say anything, right? That kind of statements were made, right? So they had to write a report and say they couldn't prove it and disprove it.
Right.
Whatever. Now, the original investigation that was conducted by the FBI, all it was, the FBI went to different high-level officials at the Pentagon about the supposed program. They were told point blank that the documents were fakes and just to disregard it. And the FBI did. It was like a 2-week investigation. They made a few phone calls. Went to the Pentagon, asked 1 or 2 people, and they were told to drop it, and they did. Fake, and they wrote bogus. It's on their website. You can see bogus roll.
Right, I've seen those.
Yeah, so anyway. So no real investigation was ever really done in these documents, okay, other than private individuals within different communities. Now, since this time, the original documents have been added to by undisclosed sources. There are documents from different scientific personnel, including Einstein, by the way, and different intelligence gathering organizations and project leads. I actually, on the laptop we're using, I have copies of most of those documents. They're fascinating to read, especially the ones in Einstein's own handwriting. Pretty far out shit. It really is, actually. It's really quite fascinating. The original documents were a briefing, apparently, to be provided to then elected President Dwight Eisenhower. The documents went into great detail. The names and rankings of the 12 original Majestic members and their roles and oversight of the UFO alien programs were outlined. The documents provided a history of the Roswell incident and the formation of the working group known as Majestic 12 or MJ12. Further established that Majestic 12 was only answerable to the President of the United States. No activities, funding, oversight would be provided to Congress or the Senate. Now, the programs listed are real eye-openers. Everything from biology of the aliens recovered, proposal systems studies, crash retrieval programs, alien sociological programs, basically trying to figure out what the society of the aliens would be like, communication programs, trying to communicate with them, and the list goes on from there. The reason was given as well for the formation of the group. Basically, the nutshell, the world had just come out of a world war and entered a Cold War. The world was not ready for the disclosure that we were not alone in the universe, and we were not even close to being top dog, if you will. It was unknown of the intentions of the aliens visitors as well. Were they hostile? Were they friendly? Were they indifferent? Further, it was understood immediately that the first country to duplicate the abilities of the recovered craft would rule the world and win the Cold War by leaps and bounds. There'd be no competition. Thus, this started 75 years of denial, ridicule, disinformation, assassination of those who got too close or failed to toe the line of the official deniability. The fake news media never did its job, not once, not even a little bit. And now we watch the gates break open. The media cannot keep their hands off it. Still asking the wrong questions and still making the same amateur mistakes. Journalism. I mean, today it's a joke. They don't even know what questions to ask the people they're interviewing. Mm-hmm. They don't know the follow-up questions. I saw some jackass, some famous, I can't think of jackass's name. It's a black dude, and they always tow him out. He's like the Philip Glass of today. He's some well-known science with a PhD behind his name in astronomy or some shit like that. And trying to, explain this shit away. Well, it could be Could be Chinese craft or, Russian. We don't like advanced systems. All right. The only way this could be remotely true is if the Chinese or the Russians had this technology, or the Soviet Union had this technology 70, 75 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's the only way, that kind of simplistic looking at it, through that kind of scope, could that even be possible? And the news media doesn't have enough common sense to say that. There's like no thought process there. The question, how can you say something like that? That sounds ridiculous to anyone who has an ounce of common sense. I mean, am I wrong here? I mean,
no, you're not wrong.
All right.
75 years later, they still don't have that common sense. And
so now we can actually turn to Robert Lazar. We're going to bring Robert Lazar into this. Mr. Bob. The scientist who made the fantastic claim back in 1989 of the existence of alien craft that he worked on at Area 51, also known as the Groom Lake area, or also known as the S4 complex. He made claims of an element 115, which at that time did not exist in 1989. It was not on our chart of elements. In fact, it was not first discovered until 2003 by a joint team of Russian and American scientists at the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research at Dubna, Russia, 14 years after Bob Lazar's claims of this element and its properties. He was laughed at. He was scoffed at the time in 1989, 1990. These astrophysics and scientists are saying the guy's nuts. There's no such thing. Well, they were wrong. He also provided, at the time in 1999, he also provided drawings of a hand biometric reader that was required along with a badge authorization to enter the S4 complex. This biometric reading technology was pounced upon again by the fake news media and its expert scientists to testify that no such technology existed and used this as an excuse to claim the story was bogus. Once again, fast forward to 2018, and lo and behold, part of the hand scanner biometric technology was declassified and showed to be in use by high security military installation as far back as the middle of 1980, sorry. And the drawing released matched Bob Lazar's drawings from 1989. Once again, proving Lazar's story within a reasonable doubt. Now that we've established a timeline and documented events, we can move into the latest disclosure aspect. Yeah. This gets to our gentleman out there now. David Gruch, retired Air Force and Special Operations Intelligence Officer. Who is he? Well, David Gruch was part of the 3rd Space Exploration Squadron. In 2012, it was under the Air Force. Now the base is Space Command Center. Base Force Command Systems. Deep Space Tracking System, Technology, Experimentation, Demonstration, and Tests fall under the Space Force Command. Was at Schriever Air Force Base in Colorado. And I found a press release from October 9th, 2012, where he was congratulated from he increased from rank from lieutenant to captain. Also housed at the now Space Force Base are the Missile Defense Integration Operations Center and U.S. Air Force Warfare Center. They may have moved the Air Force Warfare Center from that facility. I'm not sure if they did or not. Okay. But it's also the house of the Global Positioning Systems. Okay. What they also do there, and I didn't write this down, but it now is under the Space Force. It is the Deep Space Monitoring System is based out of there. So what that is, we have satellites, very top secret, obviously spy satellites that are pointed outwards. A lot of people don't realize that, but it is actually a fact. And I don't know. I think the official explanation for that is to track potential Earth-killing asteroids, that kind of thing. At least in the clandestine aspect. It is also, when the Chinese go up to the moon or the Russian take a flyby or whatever, the high orbit, we track that. These satellites do that, or these probes. But obviously, there could be another, use for the system, and that is to track anything incoming to our solar system or, within our inner solar system. Now, what's interesting to note, we have spies, and this is not, some of this is declassified. This part is, we have highly sophisticated spy satellites orbiting the moon. You can actually see them at the right time with a telescope. It's never been really explained why the Defense Department, because it came out of the Defense Department, launched those to the moon. But for some reason, and maybe because we're watching, maybe when we're waiting for the Chinese to land or the Russians, whatever, maybe we're tracking that information, who knows? But we have currently and are monitoring the moon with satellites going around the moon. So just interesting little tidbits of information that kind of layer into all this.
All right.
So he came forward, and what's fascinating about this recent disclosure is he used the whistleblower status, which is the first time it's ever been used in this particular fashion for this particular subject. He followed the official channels. He even got a Department of Defense signed document, which I saw, allowing him to speak to the media about the subject, but he was not authorized in the document to release any documents, photos, or other testimony. So once again, the fake news media, again, they didn't. They simply cannot follow and investigate the story. They missed the part where he did indeed, because you'll watch, if you watch some of the news, they say, well, he hasn't offered any proof. He hasn't offered any documents. All right?
Because he can't.
Not to them.
To them.
But if you read what he wrote or what he talks when he's speaking into the camera, he did indeed turn over documentation files to the DoD Inspector General. This, capital letters, is why the DoD is taking the case extremely serious. It establishes that there is indeed a group or groups that are operating and not reporting to Congress, Senate, the President, nor normal military command chain. This is indeed a shadow government and is 100% illegal. And this is why the DoD is all over this. Within days, the Pentagon released a statement saying there's nothing to this because they got Project Arrow shit going on and whatever. There's other stuff going on, and I don't know if they're mad because they got egg over their face, or if there's people within the Pentagon that are aware of this other group and they're trying to cover the tracks. But right now, you got two major branches, going head to head over this. All right. You could almost say that there's a legitimate war going on between the legitimate government and the shadow government that started. Now, this is what I think of Mr. David Grush. And this is why you have to be careful, no matter how good their credentials are. He worked as an extremely high-level intelligence officer. That can't be denied. That's a fact. But this is where the media, again, doesn't do their job. He also served as a counterintelligence officer as well. Part of that scope is to spread disinformation. That's what you do. Right. That's part of the thing you do as a disinformation, as a counterintelligence officer. So, as good as the credentials are, as good as to prove he may have provided the General Kine office, or the Inspector General, for the Department of Defense, you have to ask yourself, was it legitimate?
Right.
Is it legitimate? Now, the key point that some of the fake news media picked up on, and this is what scares me, and we're going to tie this into disinformation. The remarks in regards to the hostility of the alien visitors. Now, I don't know how much you watched of the interview. He's done numerous interviews now. Okay. Well, there's a lot of transcripts out there right now, and there's tons of video all over the place. But he mentioned this. He was asked point blank if we had tried to shoot these down. And he said, we have, operations or means to do so. And then the follow-up, the reported did a good job of following up with the question. Well, was there any active military personnel killed or in this? He basically said, I'm paraphrasing, I should have wrote it down, but people have lost their lives, in regards to this situation. Meaning, yes, we've engaged in a hostile way. Yes, people died. All right. So with that being said, I believe it's important to ask, why now? Why now? Why allude to the hostility or the possible hostility to aliens visitors? I watched the full interviews with David. I am picking up my personal feeling. When I watch his body reaction, his way his eyes blinked. I'm not an expert. I have no idea.
Right.
But sometimes you can watch someone talk and you can tell if they're, they're lying to the camera, if they're full of shit, maybe look away or whatever. There's certain things you just look for, if you're in a relationship, here's a good example, and you've been cheated on, right? You don't want to see the signs, but the signs are staring you right in the face. Right. And you see it after the fact. You're like, oh, hey, I remember when she looked, or he looked away, or she looked away, or whatever, So anyway, something telling me that he's not telling the truth, the full truth, as to what parts I don't know. But I don't think he's given 100% accurate information. It could be sugar-coated. It could be disinformation, some of it. I think the part about there's a group of individuals, that are operating outside the normal parameters of the U.S. government is probably true. That part, I think, is true. There's no doubt. Actually, I know there's no doubt in my mind about that aspect of it. But I think I question the claims of hostility, which it literally could be true, but it doesn't make sense. If they were hostile and they're that far advanced, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. It's like tugging on Superman's cape. There'd be no competition, so I just, that's where I have a hard time believing everything he's saying. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, I went over that. So we move on. I can't but help wonder if the alternative motivation was to convince not just the United States population of hostile aliens, but the entire world. And I actually listed the benefits of doing that. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you're in the know, and the benefits that would be of something of that nature, what would be the end result that would be on the positive? If we could convince the public that we are being threatened by an outside force. Actually, I just used Ronald Reagan's terminology. He actually said that once. He actually said at the United Nations. He actually gave a speech at the United Nations. He was president of the United States, and he was talking about the hostilities, the Cold War at the time, between us and the Soviet Union. And he said, I often wonder, his words, how fast our differences would disappear if our planet was faced by an outside threat. And he was obviously clearly indicating an alien threat. How fast all our differences would disappear, whether it be political or religious. If we like, holy shit, we're about to be annihilated, we got to do something, So anyway, one, it continues to deep control the information. If aliens are hostile, or you think aliens are. Two, justification for the past non-disclosure, meaning why did we keep it secret so many years? Well, they're hostile. We were afraid that we would alert, scare the shit out of the public. The governments would collapse, all that kind of horse shit. Society would go down the drain. A massive increase in funding would happen immediately. Not just the United States, but every military on the planet for more advanced weapon systems. I mean, we would dump everything if we knew for a fact that we were being threatened by an outside force. Every government on this planet would pump every last fucking red cent into military spending and weapons development. Yeah, it'd happen on a like that. It wouldn't be any discussion about it. It would just happen. All kinds of national security shit would go up. Martial law, night and day. It'd be happening like that. There'd be a combined effort to engage so-called hostile aliens. We'd see all kinds of governments who never worked together start working together. Okay. An extreme rollback of personal rights and privileges across all nations. Extreme. Citizens could be targeted as potential alien sympathizers. Under the Defense Authorization Act in this country, such citizens could be held without any legal recourse, as long as the DoD wishes. This is actual fact. We could see alien lockdowns. Example, a suspected hostile alien craft was detected in your area. All citizens are confined to indoors until further notice. That's the kind of shit that could happen like that. Claimed abductees would be rounded up and put into re-education centers. Claims against normal citizens of being abductees or alien synthesizers could be used to silence critics and what's left of the few legitimate journalists added to these particular wonderful camps. So if you were saying, hey, a show like this, let's stop the train here, things are going off the rails like COVID, we could be considered, synthesizers to these aliens. We could be rounded up. It's not far-fetched. You really start to think about what happened in COVID. This isn't far-fetched shit at all.
Trying not to interject just yet.
Yeah. Okay. All right. From what I can see, there are very well be a very sinister motive at play here, an attempt to really subjugate the entire Earth population, and not by aliens, but by a select few humans. Now, of course, there is also the very real possibility that some of the races, and I capitalize that, I should underline it like 10 times, coming to Earth are indeed hostile. That could be legitimate. Who knows? So it begs the question, how many races are coming? How many are already here? Do we know what star systems they come from? Or maybe what dimensions or even galaxies? Are there any truths to claims of alien bases on the Earth and the Moon and other planets in our solar system? I believe now we have entered the most dangerous time of human existence. We seem to have our government institutions fighting over information and control. On one hand, we have a nightmare scenario of hostile aliens here and now. On the other hand, we have a equal nightmare scenario of a shadow government attempting to subjugate all of humanity. These are indeed the darkest times that I can possibly imagine in my little mind. So there you are. On that note, let's have a drink. Majestic 12.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, that, by the way, everybody, this is one of my favorite. I love this shit. I buy it always in a big bottle. I love it.
So,
yes, sir.
One of the things I sent you the other night that you couldn't pull up because it was on.
Yes, I know.
That's fine. That's fine. So. It's funny you say alien sympathizers and immediately talk about COVID. There has started the seeds of doubt of whether the UFOs are actually real. There is a segment that claim that the United States or shadow government has access to hyper accurate holograms. That they can make hologram out of anything, especially an alien spacecraft, and project it into the sky so that it looks real. That the thought is by 2024, there will be an alien invasion forcing the world governments to finally come under one government rule. And that the alien invasion is actually going to be these hyper accurate holograms of UFOs with actual legitimate aircraft inside with weapons that are attacking cities and installations. But it'll appear to be the UFOs and the aliens.
That story actually goes back to a book by, Bill. What was his first? Bill something. I can't think of his last name. It's going to drive me nuts. He actually died in an FBI shootout. He was targeted. No, he really was targeted. Was it Operation Trojan Horse? It was something like that. It's a top selling book. Right. It's still like in the 6th or 7th copy of printing to today. It still sells. God, someone listening to the show is going to know exactly. Your nephew's going to listen to the show and know exactly what I'm referring to. And I know his first name was Bill. I just can't think of his last name. It's going to drive me nuts. But he was the first one that he was an insider. I can't remember what agency he worked for, but he wrote a book all about this. And he said, and this is back, we're talking back in the late 80s, early 90s, he wrote all this shit. And this is exactly what he said would happen. To the T, what you just said is exactly what he described was happening. He was shown briefing documents back in the 70s when he was in the intelligence, and they were talking about aliens and this other shit. He later determined that those documents were forgeries. He was being briefed, and it was a counterintelligence operation, and it was part of a project to fool the public in the future of an alien invasion, with the one goal of bringing the planet under a one world government. So yes, this is actually not a news story. It's
not, but it needs to be refreshed.
Yes.
So that's what's going on now. And you talk about alien sympathizers. I think equally with that are alien disbelievers.
Oh yeah,
that group that won't get vaccinated, that group that won't wear a mask, that group that won't stay 6 foot apart,
right,
are now going to be locked up. There's a lot of things going on right now and again, there's been several hinting around at that. There was one that talked about the New World Order and going that, and I'll have to go back and look it up, but the gentleman actually said he was actually within 20 feet of one of these holograms, and he couldn't tell that it wasn't real. And that was several years ago, before technology has even gotten better.
Right.
AI can make anyone's voice, not the AI you can get off of Google when you search for AI programs, but AI is at the point that it can duplicate anyone's voice, so you don't know. Who's talking, who's not talking, who's saying what, who's not saying what.
Right. It's very interesting because I never discounted Bill's story. To me, there was always grains of truth that I found, kernels of truth I found what he was saying. And it makes perfect sense. I could see that scenario easily playing out. Does that mean that aliens aren't real or visitors aren't real or dimensional beings? No. What it means is we're taking advantage, or not us, certain people, certain groups are taking advantage of that and using it for their own demise. Look at, we played, I'm sure we played in the show before. We talked about it. I know we talked about it on Let's Talk Ghost, but the video by UNICEF, the organization,
yes.
It was played all over the place down in Argentina and shit like that. With the, hybrid alien kid, I mean, like, and it was funded by the United Nations. I mean, and they're just, how can you not, it was a test program to see how it was going to play. It was to prepare people for the possibility, that very different beings could be in existence and could be coming here or already here,
So my feeling is we as a planet, we as a species are more trouble than we're worth at the moment.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. More trouble than we're worth at the moment.
But going on that train of thought, what I think, and I think there's legitimacy to that, what you just referred to with the hologram program and the fake alien invasion. That tells me one of two things. Okay. That the people that control all this information are afraid, number one, of losing power, and B, once we have technology where we no longer need coal or oil or gas or all this other shit that we don't really need, the entire world economy is going to collapse. Everything's going to collapse. Everything that we know and understand and how society operates is going to come crashing down with a gigantic thug. We're not going to need, do we really need governments anymore after that point? once we realize that we're so much more as a species and there's so much more to existence than just trying to make money and, trying to be the top dog country in the world and that kind of shit. Now, it's all horse shit. Once you have a very advanced species coming here and got to that point by getting rid of all that shit, more than likely, I'm assuming, but more likely, right? That means there's a great hope for humanity to do the same. And the people that are in power today don't want that because that means they lose everything they have, just like everybody else does. The old world gets washed away, and you have a completely new world in the way we do things. It almost sounds like communism in some ways, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, can you imagine being Harry S. Truman? He's the one that started Majestic 12, right? He's the one that signed the Security Acts. He got it going. Can you imagine Truman sitting in his office? He just found out we got fucking aliens, right? Crash disk, right? And they're starting to do all these studies. And he's like, fuck, they sound like fucking commies. We're in the war, no fucking Cold War. Last week news the Soviet Union knowing that they got communist aliens out there too. I mean, like, there's no money, there's no bargaining system. Everyone just puts their best effort forward for the system, for the race. I mean, like, granted, the Soviet Union wasn't a communist state; it was a totalitarian state. But regardless, true communism. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So. But can you imagine? I mean, I get it. I get what they were thinking in 1947. Just got out of world war where you fought back the tripower of evil. The horrors, the 6 million Jews being exterminated, all the horrors along with that. And then you enter a Cold War. It's based on, atomic energy and atomic bombs that would do unimaginable destruction. You're in the middle of that, and then you got aliens dropping in and crashing their shit all over the place. And you're the president, and you're like, fuck. Can you imagine that? I mean, like, that had to be the most far out experience that I don't know how they handled it. I mean, like, the shit that we have today, I mean, like, it's bad enough. I mean, could you imagine that shit in 1947? Fuck. Shit. They're still using to learn fucking toilet paper the right way. I mean, fuck, come on. Or I'm joking, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I just there's. I think right now we are more hassle than we're worth. Instead of dealing with 7 billion people, they might prefer to deal with 7 families. That are in power.
See, this is where I get what you're saying. That makes sense from a purely human logical standpoint, but the way we think. And this is what I think the great danger with an outside force, visitors, aliens, whatever the fuck they may be, interdimensional beings. I don't fucking know. And there's more than one. Obviously, there's more than one group coming here, or species, whatever. And I think the problem we have as a species is we like to think in Star Trek terms, okay? Meaning that, hey, we're the Federation. We got rid of all that shit. We evolved. We're better now. We're here for peace and exploration, okay? We as humans automatically want to think the best about ourselves. So this is the terms that we think about, right? But that's not reality. That's not that. Well, it may be reality, but there's nothing to show us in the galaxy that's reality for any other species, right? We like to think we're going to achieve that, and that's what we're going to become. But our history shows we're not, right? So based on that, I think it's very dangerous to assume that an outside force would have similar goals or ideas that we do. You see what I'm saying?
I don't think the aliens are here to help us. What I'm saying is, you convince whatever it is, the 7 or dozen 0.1% families that control everything, the Rockefellers, the whatever, that we want your resources. We want this, we want that. We want whatever. And it would be far easier if you had a population of 7 billion slaves to do the work.
Right.
Or 7 billion slaves that you can sell off to us, and we can take other places and transplant other places. I think our greatest resources is our population. This is a Goa'uld moment where we start getting transplanted.
Is that fucking Klingon or something?
Goa'uld?
Yeah.
It's Stargate.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're not Stargate?
No, I like Star. I just haven't watched it in so long. It just sounded very Klingish.
Goa'uld that takes human slaves and transplanted them all over the galaxy to do slave work in mines, work in other areas.
Humans are high maintenance.
You and I are high maintenance.
No. Humans are in general high maintenance. No. Look, we need food, we need shelter, we need water. We need all this other shit, right? To stay alive, even to be slaves. And we have this spirit within us to fight against that in every way possible. This is what human beings are. The animal instinct, if you will, not to be tamed. Okay. So I never felt, and I still don't, and I feel strongly, it has nothing to do with resources on this planet with these things showing up, whatever they are. Nothing to do with resources. If there is a resource that they're interested in, you're right, it's human beings, but for a particular different reason, I think. I believe, and again, this is based on my abduction research, or this is going into a realm, but you know what? Shit. UFOs didn't exist 5 or 6 years ago, right? Now they exist. Now we got whistleblowers coming forth, and now we know there's a shadow government, and the news media is actually covering it all. Okay, all right, so that's becoming real. The next step is, holy shit, they're abducting citizens without permission. That's the next fucking ball to drop. That makes them hostile. Okay, so we're back in the hostile aspect of things. In our mindset, that makes them hostile. So, but they're interested in my opinion, again, it's my abduction research. They're interested in this not for our physical capabilities, but we have something else. In my opinion and viewpoint, we have a soul, a spirit. Okay. I believe that soul spirit, the way I word it, is what's the word? Damn it. Deep Space Nine, Jax. What the hell? Symbiotic. A symbiotic relationship between the physical and the spiritual. It's that the other part of the equation, the soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it, the energy, is what they're more interested in. That's what I truly, truly believe from my research. It's that they're very interested in, humans and how we act, in particular sense of sexuality and reproduction purposes. They don't give a shit about our society or how we operate or anything like that. They want to know just enough how things work. Like if you go to McDonald's and you need to order a cheeseburger, how would you do that? If you're riding a school bus, how do you act? Stupid shit like that we would take for granted. It seems obvious is fucking unbelievable. They can't wrap their mind around it. It's the little things. They can't wrap their minds around how our society works. And it's just for them to fit in, or a part of them to fit in for a brief amount of time. That's just my opinion. Again, my opinion. I don't know how we got into this. But anyway, it goes back to, I don't think they're interested in dealing with any leading groups of humans. I really don't. I don't think they're a rat's ass. I just don't see that.
I think so.
I don't see that at all.
I think in any kind of organization, there's bound to be a middle management that you rely upon to control your employees, your lower workers.
Yes.
And that middle management that may think they have power, but they're not. They're fucking middle management. You know how middle management works.
But that goes back to the abduction scenario. That goes to the hybrid aliens, the humans, half aliens, whatever you will. And then you would have the abductees. Then you have shitbags, and then you have regular humans. That's how that would work, that equation.
I just am saying that if I was orchestrating a hostile takeover of a company, I might try to find a few people within the company that'd be willing to help me.
They're called abductees.
I think they're not called abductees. They're called fucking middle managers that are sick of what's going on. They're going to help me no matter what. And then I'm going to want to get rid of troublemakers. So I think COVID probably wasn't necessarily a test run, but you would quickly single out the unvaxxers, the unmaskers, the nonconformists. Yeah, everything. I think they're going to start disappearing. And it's not black ops. It's not the secret police. It's fucking alien abductions where these fuckers went, whatever.
Well, I think,
and that's going to leave you a more compliant population. And I know what you're saying, Jeff, and I think both of us have watched way too much sci-fi, but the indomitable fighting spirit of the human is a lot shallower than you think it is.
How many people spent 6,000 years in bondage? 2,000 years, sorry. 2,000 years in bondage. Pharaoh, let my people go.
How many people are still out in public with masks on? Still driving in their car with masks on? Still getting COVID shots, COVID boosters? Aren't able to see grotesque injustices in society with what's going on a day-to-day basis.
Right. I got to jump in real quick before I lose my train of thought.
Okay.
The shots hit me now.
I'm
an old man. I'm 50. The shit didn't hit me.
Yeah.
So anyway, fuck. Lost my train of thought. So I want to backtrack just teeny weeny bit. Okay. All right. So I think the people. Oh, that's what I wanted. I think the people who actually had the most to fear, believe it or not, and this is based on my research.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people who have most to fear are the people who are gifted in the psychic world. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because those people, a lot of them have the ability to see auras or detect auras of human beings. And the hybrids do not have the same kind of auras that humans do, the mix. And the aliens definitely don't. It's a dead giveaway to the people who are gifted. Those are the people that are going to disappear like a thief in the night. 3 a.m. You wake up, your wife's not there no more. What the fuck?
Scotty, beam her up.
Right. No, I'm dead serious.
I
think those are the people who really have to be on alert. Again, I could be 100% wrong. I probably am, but you never know. These are nightmare scenarios. Yeah, the truth of the matter is, right now I get
what you're saying with that, though. I do understand what you're saying with that. I don't think those would be the highest priority.
Right now, we know we can establish, I think, over everything we went, we definitely have this going on. We have two hands of the government, right? And one is trying to find out what the fuck's going on, and then one's trying to hide it. That is going on right now. I don't even think that's questionable at this point. How much they're trying to hide and what they're hiding is really the question. And what is their end goal by trying to hide it? Is it a fake possible alien invasion, which is a distinct possibility, which I admit freely that could be a real thing. It's not beyond the realm of possibilities. Or is it because they really are afraid? Or is it because they really want the technology to develop just for the United States so we can rule a planet, which is another distinct possibility? This other group trying to bring the shit out because they know mankind, through what we know, is going to transform. We're not going to be the same species once it's all out there. Once we know we don't need to kill the planet to do, to have the energy we need to survive. Once we know there's a universe that is so much more beyond us, and there's all these other species out there. It's not 1 or 2 or 10. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of species out there. Some are intelligent. Some are way more intelligent than ours. Some may be below us. They're not at our development level yet, but they're scattered everywhere. Mm-hmm. We're not alone in the universe. And we're definitely not the lowest on the totem pole, but we're not even close to being the top.
No.
you know, and I think, you know, mankind is getting to the point where it's coming out. It's one way or the other, it's going to come out. And the war is going on right now. And I think we're seeing it unfold right in front of us. So that's what I think.
Okay. But
we know there's a secret group that controls the information. I think we know that for a fact. What's that?
So I appreciate your optimism.
Well, I try to look at things on the bright side.
I don't think the 7 billion of us amount to a hill of beans in the grand scheme of the universe.
No, we don't. I mean, we're a speck. We're in the speck. We're a speck in the dust of time.
I'm not sure unless there's something more valuable we have to offer, why any alien species is going to waste their time trying to bring us up to speed.
Well, no, and again, it's a possibility. But I think they have their own intentions. I think there's more than one. There's different groups with their own intentions. For all we know, they'd be fighting over us. Who knows? You know, like a girl at a party and all the guys want the same girl and there's 10 guys fighting over her. I mean, it could be something, a scenario like that. Who knows? But they all have their own intentions of what they want to do with this girl. You know, some want to fuck her in her ass. Some want to marry her. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean,
no, they all want to fuck her, which is what they want to do to us. They all want to fuck us one way or the other.
Yeah, but lube helps. Some are going to give us some lube. Yeah, some are going to give us lube.
None of them are going to give us lube. Trust me. When I say none are going to give us lube. The way our society is de-evolving as we speak.
Oh my God. Everything is falling apart.
I see us on that path already.
Everything is falling apart.
That it won't take much beyond a fleet of holographic UFOs.
It won't. You're right. No,
to scare the shit. We were scared shitless
of COVID.
Over the common fucking cold.
Yeah.
And go ahead and take the broadcast. I don't give a shit, YouTube. It wound up being nothing more than basically a bad common cold. And they gave us drugs and they gave us vaccines. That's actually killing us more than the COVID did.
Yep.
Causing more problems than actually the COVID did.
But making a lot of money for a few people.
Yep. And we went for it hook, line, and sinker. There's a bunch of them still going for a hook, line, and sinker. And for something that is like stubbing your toe compared to an alien invasion, a well-orchestrated, well-choreographed, well-cinematographed alien invasion is not just going to collapse 99% of the world population into kissing someone's ass that can make those aliens go away. I'm just saying. And if it gives them the opportunity to revoke civil rights and to revoke the Constitution and group us under one world government led by those assholes in the World Economic Forum, the Soroses and the Rockefellers and the
G7,
whatever. Yeah. No, because Biden's part of the G7 and he's just an idiot. I think they're just letting him. But there was a huge puppet. They're testing the waters with. It's with this fucking idiot. I'm just saying, and I get it. I'm the negative nanny of the group. I get it.
I didn't say negative nanny.
I know. No, I admit it. Hey, I will accept that label as being a negative nanny on things. But with the current state of transits and transat and fluid this and fluid that
and dolphins
and I don't know what fucking gender
I am. The dolphins.
There's 56 fucking genders and whatever.
I feel like I'm being a cat today. I'm a
saying,
cat, goddammit.
Just saying.
I'm gonna have a tail grafted on my ass.
There is. I'm just hoping whatever happens before the pedos get in power.
Pedos.
Because the next one's coming.
Literally, next one's coming.
They're sexualizing children. They're making it more and more acceptable that kids. How can you not make the logical half step? And we've gotten off the fucking paranormal.
We have a major way.
How can you not realize, not see the logical half step from saying that a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old has the mental capacity to decide their sexuality, male, female, whatever, to make the choice to take hormone blockers, to cut off parts of their body or add parts to it, that you can't make that half step to say, well, if they can do that, then why can't they choose their sexual partner at any age?
Yep, there you go. No, that's legitimate.
I'm just saying.
No, you're right. 100% right on that.
These fuckers.
No, you are.
And that is the problem I have with the transgender community. I don't have a problem with transsexuals, because these are people that, in my opinion, have gone the extra mile to do the conversion from one sex to another. They're happy with that.
No,
or the transvestites,
right,
that like to be in women's clothes,
right,
Klinger and the rest of them,
right.
Mrs. Horndoggle, whatever, Mrs. Doubtfire,
yeah.
Okay, but it's this transgender that flip flops and goes and happy as hell to pirate everything else.
Well, I
fuck them.
That community, I will give them a shitload of credit, because I'll tell you what, to go through all those operations to change like that, that is all in, and I give them props for that. I know, look, I have friends. I'm not going to name any of them, but they've gone that route, and I respect them. That's their wish. They're human beings. They have every right to do whatever the hell they want. It's their body, as far as I'm concerned. They're not harming any other human, as far as I'm concerned. They can do what they want. But I draw the line at the push, like you said, of children being able to make those decisions. We all, when we're growing up, have questions about our sexuality. We all go through these different changes in our life to determine who we are. And to introduce it at such a young age is actually beyond stupid. It's not logical. It's not scientifically based at all. It's all based on feelings and emotions, which should not be part of the equation when it comes to something of our children. No. And this is where I get really upset. In fact, I've got one very far left-wing family member who I love dearly, who keeps posting shit on my recent dolphin. When I delete it, as soon as I did, I delete it, because it led to me taking them off my friend list many years ago. Mm-hmm. And I regretted it, because they're such a close family member. But they drive me nuts, because I know how smart that person is. They're not dummies. They're really, really intelligent people. And for them to fall down this path without using any logic whatsoever drives me up a wall. I'm like, how can you even fathom that this is okay? My post, apparently to some, the recent one, was an attack on that community. It's not an attack. It's a basis of logic and using common sense to determine what is right, not feelings. It's science. It's biology, right? How more simple can we make it?
Right. And you're right. It is science, but now I'm trying to say science. I guess and it sounds great. What I'm upset about, if I were a gay person, I would be so infuriated that my true community spent decades fighting for the rights that I now have as a homosexual, and then to have some outlying group just jump on the coattails, not just jump on the coattails, but take the whole coat off you and say, this is their community, this is their fight, this is their thing. It's crazy, because now when people are mad at the transgender people, which they just say trans so they can group in all this other stuff, they start interchanging that word with gay. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think it should be the case. That'd be like, it's just too much. And they need to fight it. They need to fight it. And they need to say, you are not part of this community. You can go have your own community, fight for your own rights, but you are 6% of the population. You are the same percent of the population as AR-15 owners in America.
Good point. And on that point, and I think the audience knows as well, I'm going to ask the question, audience, because I care about what you think. as well. Anvile, we've all noticed that you have this fascination with the subject.
I do, and we get all kinds of comments in here.
We do. Oh my God! Look at that. Holy shit! We really do. I'm sorry. Look at that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Thor. Thank you, Golden.
Any hate mail in here for us yet?
I can't read that.
I can't see it.
Where can we get
Yes.
Valiant Thor? Thank you. There's some good comments, man. Good guy, or her. It could be. But I think what we want to know, you know, if you want to come forward on this show, Anvile, and admit that you are gay, we're going to support you 100%. 100%, Anvile, we're going to support you. We want you to know if that's, I mean, that's up to you. You want to come out of the closet here? It's up to you, but we're going to support you 100%.
I appreciate that.
He appreciates that. See? I mean, you keep buying me gifts, which I appreciate. I appreciate the gifts you buy. You did put your hand on my leg once in the car. So
I can't say that I'm gay in particular.
Okay.
But I would think if I was, I'd be really pissed off right now that these fucking people are hijacking.
Jacking is the key word, everybody.
Yeah, not hijacking.
Jacking.
Not hijacking off, but hijacking.
Right.
My group would be... Okay. So this is just how ridiculous the internet's gotten.
Right.
Okay. So there was a black young man, that was on there talking about the fact that we have been misled for 150, 60 years on what Lincoln actually looks like.
Okay.
That the drawings and things of that Lincoln are made to have him look white.
Yeah, are you saying he was black?
And Lincoln.
Where's Black Jeffy? We gotta get him on this show.
Was actually black.
What you talking about, Wills?
Lincoln was actually black, and he was our first black president. And I'm thinking
Lincoln.
The educational system has failed utterly and completely. And I'm not saying, I don't even think Lincoln even would be passing. It isn't like he had a really good tan. Lincoln was a white dude.
Well, okay.
And in 1840, 1850, I don't care how educated or how light-skinned you might have been as a black person, you weren't going to get elected president of the United States.
1861.
1861.
But, okay, with that in mindset, I've talked about this at least on Let's Talk Go, so we're talking on this show. I'm sure we talked about it in the show. Lincoln, okay, after he was shot.
Klaus Schwab, thank you. That was the name I couldn't get. Thank you.
He was not alone in his room. But again, there wasn't physicians in his room after, as they're waiting for him to die. His wife was there all the time. His children were all there all the time. There was a servant boy, obviously at that time he was black, was there in the room at the time.
Okay.
And he's the one that really saw Lincoln at the end. Don't ask me how I know this. I just know it. And Lincoln was conscious for a very brief moment or a couple moments with this young man. And he said something to him. I don't remember what it was. I wrote it down somewhere. But regardless.
But he didn't say, give me some watermelon.
No, he didn't.
He didn't say, give me some fried chicken.
I can't believe he just said that. Jesus H. Christophers. No, Lincoln wasn't black.
Lincoln was
okay, I get where you're going now.
Okay.
It took me a minute to understand what the fuck you were saying, but now I got it. No, he was not black. He was white. He was not black. All right. Jesus could have been black, and the probability he was, or at least Middle Eastern.
That's I get that. That might be some legitimate.
No, it's very legitimate. extremely legitimate. But yeah, regardless. This idea of Jesus with blue eyes and blonde hair bullshit drives me fucking batshit.
Anyways.
Right.
So now we've totally gotten away from Planet Paranormal.
Oh, wait. We have to get back to what we were doing paranormal, fake alien invasion. Okay. We get back to that real quick because, I got to tie in the biblical description of the end of times, the book of Revelation. All right. It says Jesus and his armies come on clouds, vehicles of clouds, right? So they're coming on clouds.
Yeah.
Right. And there's paintings from the 14th, 15th, and 16th century that show these clouds more like spacecraft, if you will. Okay. Just throwing that out there. Fake alien invasion. Here comes Jesus. He's riding the alien coattails. Who knows? Just throwing that in the mix. Just to fucking mix shit up even more. Like a blender.
So.
Who knows?
Yeah. And that's a whole nother show.
It is a whole nother fucking show.
Jesus and his UFO armada from heaven. Great. Perfect. I doubt it because Christianity is in such a decline right
Mars
now.
Attack, everybody. Great fucking movie.
Christianity is such a decline right now. Then they might do it. They might make Jesus the leader of the alien group. Because
you think you pulled off?
They hate Christians so much right now.
Right.
It's not even funny.
You're right. They do. It's a war against. Oh, that's another thing. It's a war against Christianity right now. And who predicted this 6-7 years ago? I did because I wrote fucking shit about this. I wrote Facebook. We talked about it, and maybe not on this show, but we talked about Let's Go Ghost. I said that's what we got to worry about. And it's happening.
I'm sure Jesus will be transitioning to a woman
any minute now.
So there could be a conquering female general finally in history that won a war.
But to go on
transitioning being French, one or the other.
To hit that fact real quick though, I do like to comment that in my opinion, my humble opinion, the research I've shown that Mary was indeed supposed to be headed to the church, just so you guys know.
My mom believes Jesus was an alien. It makes sense.
That's not far out, dude. I mean, like, think about it. That's not that far out. Think about it. You have a human being that has all these super fucking human powers, right? That impresses all the other fucking humans, right? How you got a burning bush at the for Moses hologram, maybe? Who knows? The part in the Red Seas, anti-gravity, part in the water, so they can move through. Alien technology. I mean, it's really not that far out shit when you really think about it. If aliens are coming here from, a suspected alien race is from Zeti Reticuli. It's a binary star system that is roughly 1 billion to 2 billion years older than our sun. So any species would have a potential head start of about 1 billion years ahead of humankind here. That's a huge technology leap. Who knows where we'd be in 1 billion years from now with our technology, or even 500 million, or even 1 million, or 100 years from now, where we're going to be with our technology, what we can do. So just imagine a species that has such a head start where they would be. The idea is not that far out, to be honest with you. It really is not.
Okay. We'll take it. Mary was a virgin. She was abducted and impregnated.
I believe that to be true.
All right. Well,
look, no, let's get back to that. Julie, thank you. Golden.
I'm
going to say, yeah, golden. Sorry.
Golden.
I'm going to get back to that because that's a very interesting point. All through biblical scripture, especially New Testament, everything's in threes. Okay. Mm-hmm. You got God, you got Jesus, you got the Holy Spirit. Okay. So you got threes. All right. 3 wise men come to see Jesus, or what's the other term? I can't remember. 3 wise men. I can't remember now off the top of my head right now. But 3 wise men come to see Jesus, give him gifts. All right. 3 angels come to see Jesus when he's impregnated. Or not Jesus. Mary. Jesus was not impregnated. Sorry. It's a shot. Mary, when she's impregnated, okay, with the special child.
Right.
Okay. Again, to number 3. What would angels, if you were being an abduction, okay, today, if you saw 3 spirits come into the room or entities, You would call them aliens today. But back then, maybe you would call them angels because you don't recognize them.
Okay.
So Mary maybe has told in her words how she reflected.
But let's follow the science on this.
Okay, let's follow science.
Let's follow the science.
Fucking religion. There's no fucking science.
Let's follow the science.
It's religious belief.
No one, no human has ever gotten pregnant from anal probing.
As far as we know. Not for anal probes. No.
Physiologically impossible.
No. I've done a few anal probes in my life, and no one's gotten pregnant.
And if you can't get pregnant from anal probing, then they need to change all those books that have been put in the elementary school libraries recently to let the little kids know that anal probing is not as safe as the book says it is. No matter what the cartoon depicts.
Okay, I'm gonna tell the story, and I can't believe I'm gonna tell the story because
you're gonna tell a story already.
I can't. I probably shouldn't tell the story. I'm gonna tell the story. So when I was a young man, very young, I remember when it may have been an uncle. I don't fucking remember, but he said, "Yo, Jeff," he's drunk off his ass. Right, we were in the bathroom trying to give me money. Not for that. Not for that. I was like 11, 12 years old. And he's like, "I'm gonna give you some money because you're a good kid. Let me give you some advice too, because it's even better." I remember saying like this, right? And you're date Jewish women. And you date them, Jeff. You have the time of your life. And I'm like, what the fuck's he talking about? I'm 11 years old. What the fuck's he talking about? He's like, you know why? You can't get them pregnant. And I'm gonna tell you why, Jeff. Jewish women won't fuck before marriage. But dude, they'll take it in their ass all day long. I'll never forget that conversation. I'll never, for as long as I've been scarred for life.
I'm sure you are.
I'm scarred for life. I'll never forget that conversation. So anyway.
Anyway. We should probably end the show on that
note.
We
probably should.
Before we offend another.
I want to say thank you for all the wonderful comments tonight. We should read a few more before we go. There's a lot of shit there.
Where the hell the pointer go? There it is. This is a pretty big one.
That's what she said.
Humans are of Earth and would not be
to be able to stay alive outside of it. I think our power is our energy, soul, consciousness. He says you feed on energy, and the Earth has a lot of soul energy. That's a good point. That's a very distinct possibility.
There's that possibility too.
Yep. Got another one here. It's going to get ugly, and I think many will suffer and be lost. But it'll bring in a new age, so to speak. Hopefully, a new humanity. It's going to take a few hundred years to get better. We'll be long gone, so enjoy it while you can, and marvel that we get to live and experience the beginning of this now. Another good point. Again, that kind of got my thought process there. Yeah. Heather said, "Is my girl there?" Yep. Klaus fucking Schwab. My mom believes you. Yep, we talked about that one.
We're just jumping around the comments now.
The sudden onset of disclosure purely their advantage when they set their event in motion. Good point. Annabelle was speaking about. Yes, Annabelle, that's perfect blue beam in a nutshell.
Yes,
blue beam. There you go. She got it. Someone knew what the fuck we were talking about.
Someone's been seeing it.
Dude, it's Monday, not Thursday. What the fuck's going on? It's just the Mandela. Yes, it is, Jules. The Mandela effect.
It is. It is. There's been some. We hit that 100th episode and we kind of lost our minds and did some changes. So
yeah.
Look for Jeff and I as a pair here. And then we've done some individual stuff, or at least I am, and keep posting on that.
Yeah, see, now Anvile has an advantage here with the independent shit because he knows how this technology works. You know, Heather's still showing me how to use my fucking phone half the time because I don't understand it. Or Connor, right? I honestly don't understand these fucking phones. I get so confused with this shit. But Anvile here is the genius behind all the technology aspect of our show. So thank you, Anvile. You are the man. I'd be lost without your shit.
And again, in order to give Jeff a buffer of security, we are trying to avoid exactly what we got into the last half hour here.
No, I'm okay. There's a certain point I'm okay.
Yeah,
you know,
but we usually surpass that.
And my name's not Jeff, by the way.
It isn't Fred.
Fred. I don't like Fred. I'll come up with a different name.
Bluff.
Black
yeah.
Jeffy. I like Black Jeffy. What you doing about Liz? Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. That won't get us in trouble.
No, that won't get us in trouble at all.
So All right. So
could you imagine being on that show and having her as your hot older sister though? Dana, what was it? Dana what? Dana, what was her last name? Pluto.
Yeah, kind of.
She was on Playboy.
Yeah,
I looked at it. I did look at those Playboys.
She kind of skanked out.
I don't care. She was hot. Just saying.
I would rather take my chances in Hazard County, if you know what I'm saying.
With the Duke boys? You sick bastard.
Daisy.
Oh, Daisy. Daisy Dukes. You know, I never had a thing for her. I never had a thing for Daisy Dukes.
Really?
Never. Nope, wasn't my type. Too fucking tall, man.
Too tall.
I don't think she had an ass either. I don't think she had an ass. Just saying.
Too tall.
Too tall, no ass. I don't know. Just me.
Too female for me.
Too
tall.
Well, look, I'm vertically challenged. I'm a little person. I'm like a fucking hobbit. How's that gonna work? How's that gonna?
Do I have to draw a picture of how this works for you? You're just not kissing on those lips. That's all.
Oh,
there's another set of lips.
Our show is slowly going south.
Oh,
literally.
We're there. We're there. All right. So,
all right.
It's that time. This went on way longer than we planned. We will get together at some point down the road.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the comments. We appreciate it.
We do appreciate them. We appreciate the viewership.
Yes.
This should undoubtedly be interesting when it hits the podcast network, because we're getting more and more activity.
We are getting a lot. It's crazy how many downloads we're getting around the planet right now. It's nuts.
We are a smash in Singapore. Singapore downloaded a boat. I thought the CIA had a satellite office in Singapore. They download so much of our shit. But even the other day, my 20-minute thing at Fortnite report got 5 hits in 24 hours.
Wow.
So we'll be back at some point. Keep an eye on the website, www.letstalkitall.com, and stay up to date on what's next. Also on Facebook. And we will talk to everyone in the future. Hopefully. Disclaimer. Neither Jeff nor I are suicidal.
True. Very fucking true.
Jeff's in better health than I am, but I'm okay health too at the moment. So neither one of us is suicidal, neither one of us are near death as far as our health goes. So if we should all of a sudden die,
and that's important,
or piss off a Clinton,
and we're not in the kiddie porn, so any of this bullshit show up on computers.
We're fighting against that.
Yeah.
Any other porn you might catch on my computer, but kiddie porn is not part.
Definitely not on there.
So
all the other porn, Chinese eating, whatever snails out of fucking cactuses or some shit. All good.
Jeez, that sounded a bit
fucked up. Anyway, what else?
That sounded a bit fluid gender to me. All right.
Wait. There's one more thing.
What?
You got to end the show in the right way, though. What's our saying? It's the last end. You get what else you got to say, and then you say it at the end.
So we are 100% right.
50%
of the time. Salute.